Solution number 2 it is. Let's go back over to our database designer. We're going to add in 2 new tables, one for photo tags and one for caption tags. All right, so back over here, I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to start off with photo tags first. I'm going to give this thing an ID column. I'll give it a created at timestamp and an updated at timestamp. Now, is updated at here really necessary? Well, I think so. It's entirely possible that a user might go and tag someone else inside of a photo and then realize, oh no, I tagged the wrong person on the photo itself. Maybe the photo is really blurry, kind of hard to make out who's who, and then they only realize later on they tagged the wrong person. In that case, we would probably want to allow a user to update a photo tag and maybe drag it around to somewhere else on the photo. If we're going to allow a user to update a photo tag, we might want to store the date at which the thing was updated at. As a reminder, it is not required to put in any kind of timestamp like updated at if we're just going to allow a user to update a record. Not required. You don't have to have a timestamp on there. The only reason we put the timestamp on is so that, well, we can record when it was updated. We might eventually find some kind of use and say, hey, this photo was updated 3 minutes ago, and tell everyone else it was just updated, go and look at all the changes. So we only really need to add in the updated at column if we really expect to update a row in some way, and if we want to ever reference the date at which it was updated. All right, so then beyond that, we're going to provide a link, or essentially a pointer, back to the post that the tag is being added to. So I'll say post ID. It's going to be an integer that's going to be a reference to posts.id. And then we will also add in the user who is actually tagged. This will also be an integer ref users.id. Okay, so that's looking good. So then finally, last thing we really need to indicate is where on the post, or essentially the photo itself, the tag was actually added. Was it added at coordinates 2020, 500, 500, wherever it might be? So we could probably make that an x coordinate, which I'll store as an integer, and a y coordinate as an integer. Okay, so that looks pretty reasonable for photo tags. Now we'll create our other table, caption tags, which is going to look very similar. It just will not have the X and Y. So I'm going to put in caption tags, do an ID column as usual. I'll do a created at. And then in this case, there actually is one other difference between photo tags and caption tags. In the case of a caption tag, do we ever really expect to be able to meaningfully update it in any way? Chances are no. Whenever you mention a user inside of a caption, that's it. That's the only information we have. A caption was created, and it's going to be tied to some target user and some target post. There's not really anything we could change about a caption that's going to update any of the columns of a row inside of caption tags. So I don't think that we really need an updated at column in this case, because there's really just no functional update we're ever going to make to a given caption tag. So in this case, I think we really just need created at and nothing else. So then once again, we'll say, here is the post that the user was mentioned in. And then also link to the user who is actually mentioned. All right, that should be it. So we've now got a table of photo tags and caption tags. And if we ever decide to update photo tags in some way, again, maybe we tie comments to them or reactions, who knows what. Maybe there's other properties or other columns we want to store around the photo tag itself. Well, we could very easily make a change to this table and not modify any existing caption tags at the same time. Looks like we've got a fair number of columns on here now. I mean, not columns. We definitely have a lot of columns, but we got a lot of tables as well. So it's kind of hard, even harder now, to kind of properly organize this stuff. Again, if you're having a hard time organizing this diagram, it's not necessarily a sign that you need to simplify your schema at all. Sometimes the relationships between tables is just, well, complex. And just because visually it is a little bit confusing doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a bad design or anything like that. All right, so this is looking pretty reasonable. Another pause right here, and we're going to move on to take a look at another feature inside of our Instagram design in just a moment.